What if the person you're waiting for has already made a final decision and their silence is the only answer you'll ever get? Welcome to Distant Soul, where we explore the hidden patterns of human behavior. And today, we're uncovering the clear signs an avoidant has truly closed the door for good. If an avoidant shows these behaviors, it usually means they're not coming back. While people with avoidant tendencies often move in cycles, pulling away and then returning, there are certain actions that signal a final decision. These go beyond their usual need for space and point to a clear intention to end things for good. Understanding these signs can save you from holding on to hope for someone who has already let go. One of the biggest indicators is when they completely cut you off everywhere. If they block you on every social media platform, remove your number, and eliminate all possible ways to reach them, this isn't just about needing distance. It's about creating a permanent separation. This level of shutdown is very different from their usual pattern, where they might still keep some kind of indirect connection or leave a small opening. When everything is closed off, it shows they no longer want access or even the possibility of reconnecting. Avoidants who think they might come back often leave at least one door slightly open. Maybe they don't block you everywhere, or they stay loosely connected through mutual contacts. But when they go completely silent and unreachable, it usually means they've already worked through their emotions and decided that reconnecting wouldn't be healthy for them. It's not hesitation, it's resolution. Another strong sign is when they quickly move into a serious relationship with someone else. If they become committed, introduce this new person to their inner circle, or make things public, it's a clear signal that they've shifted their emotional focus. This isn't their usual pattern of keeping things casual or distant. It reflects a conscious decision to invest in someone new and move forward fully. When these behaviors show up, it's important to take them at face value. They're not mixed signals or temporary reactions. They're deliberate choices that reflect closure. They're putting that emotional energy somewhere else. Avoidants usually steer clear of deep commitment. So when they jump into something serious right after your relationship ends, it's not random, it's intentional. It shows they've settled whatever internal resistance held them back before. Either this new person doesn't activate their fears the way you did, or they've decided that the struggles they had were tied specifically to the dynamic they shared with you, not just their overall attachment style. Another major sign is when they make big life changes right after things end. Moving to a new place, switching careers, or completely changing their lifestyle can be more than just personal growth. It can be a way of starting fresh in a life that no longer includes you. These kinds of shifts often reflect a desire to remove anything that could remind them of the past. When avoidants take drastic steps like this, it's usually less about chasing something new and more about escaping what they want to leave behind. If it happens right after the breakup, it often means they see any chance of reconnecting as something they need to avoid entirely. You'll also notice it in how they handle physical ties to the relationship. If they return all your belongings and ask for theirs back in a clear, organized way, it's not just about tidying up loose ends. It's a sign they want a complete emotional and physical reset. Removing shared items helps them cut off reminders and close that chapter fully. When an avoidant still feels unsure or thinks they might come back, they often hold on to small things without even realizing it, little pieces that keep a subtle connection alive. But when they deliberately clear everything out, it shows a conscious decision to erase those links. They're not leaving anything behind that could pull them back or stir up memories later on. There's an important nuance here that most people miss. When an avoidant reaches this level of closure, it usually doesn't happen impulsively. On the surface, their actions can look sudden or even cold, but internally, the decision has often been building for a long time. Avoidants tend to process emotions privately, and by the time their behavior becomes obvious to you, they've already gone through multiple internal stages: conflict, detachment, justification, and finally acceptance. So what feels abrupt to you may actually be the final step of a process they've been working through silently. Another thing to understand is that this kind of final cutoff is often driven by a need for emotional safety rather than a lack of care. Avoidants don't usually eliminate someone completely unless they feel that staying connected would pull them back into emotional discomfort, pressure, or vulnerability they don't want to face again. In their mind, removing you entirely can feel like the only way to maintain control over their internal state. It's less about punishing you and more about protecting themselves from emotions they find overwhelming or destabilizing. At the same time, it's important not to romanticize this behavior or interpret it as hidden love. People sometimes convince themselves that such extreme actions must mean the avoidant cares deeply but is just afraid. While fear can play a role, consistent and deliberate distance, especially when it includes cutting all ties and building a new life, reflects a clear choice. Care without action doesn't sustain a relationship, and avoidance at this level shows a preference for distance over connection. There's also a pattern in how avoidants redefine the past once they've decided to move on. They may mentally rewrite the relationship in a way that justifies their exit, focusing more on incompatibilities or moments of discomfort rather than the positive aspects. This cognitive shift helps them stay firm in their decision and reduces the likelihood of second guessing. That's another reason why they don't come back easily after reaching this point. They've aligned their thoughts and emotions to support the separation. For the person on the other side, this can feel confusing because it clashes with the earlier push-pull dynamic. You might remember times when they came back after distancing themselves and assume this is just another cycle. But the difference lies in the level of finality. Earlier, there were still emotional threads connecting you, unfinished conversations, lingering curiosity, or access points that allowed them to re-enter your life. When those threads are intentionally cut, the pattern itself has changed. It's also worth noting that avoidants who truly close the door often become very consistent afterward. The unpredictability that once defined the relationship fades, replaced by a steady absence. They don't check in, they don't hover in the background, and they don't leave subtle signals. That consistency, even though it can be painful, is actually one of the clearest indicators that they've moved on. Understanding this can shift your focus in a healthier direction. Instead of analyzing every action for hidden meaning or waiting for a return, it allows you to take their behavior at face value. Closure doesn't always come through a conversation or explanation. Sometimes it comes through patterns that no longer repeat. In the end, what matters most is recognizing that someone's decision to fully remove themselves is a form of communication in itself. It tells you where they stand, even if they never say it directly. And while it can be difficult to accept, seeing it clearly helps you step out of uncertainty and begin moving forward on your own terms. There's also a deeper layer to how avoidants detach that can make the whole situation feel even more confusing. They don't just step away physically, they often disconnect emotionally in a way that looks almost complete. Once they've reached that internal cutoff point, they can act as if the relationship no longer holds emotional weight, even if it once meant a lot to them. This isn't because the connection was fake, but because they've trained themselves to suppress or deactivate those feelings to maintain their sense of independence and control. What makes this difficult for the other person is the contrast. You may still feel the bond, the memories, and the emotional intensity, while they appear unaffected or even indifferent. That gap can lead you to question everything, whether it was real, whether you meant anything to them, or whether something could have been done differently. But the reality is, avoidants often cope by shutting down emotional access, not by gradually processing and expressing it in a visible way. Another important aspect is how they associate the relationship with pressure over time. Even if things started well, avoidants can slowly begin to link closeness with expectations, responsibility, or loss of personal space. Once that association becomes strong enough, their mind starts to frame distance as relief. So when they finally leave and fully cut ties, it can feel to them like they're regaining control rather than losing something meaningful. That internal relief reinforces their decision and makes returning less likely. It's also common for them to avoid revisiting the past altogether. They don't usually sit and reflect on what could have been or dwell on memories in the same way others might. Instead, they redirect their focus forward into work, new environments, or new relationships. This forward-only mindset helps them maintain emotional distance and prevents old feelings from resurfacing. It's not that they're incapable of remembering, but they actively choose not to engage with those memories because it disrupts the stability they've created. From your perspective, this can feel like unfinished business. You might want clarity, closure, or a final conversation to make sense of everything. But avoidants who have reached this level of finality rarely provide that. Not because they're trying to be unfair, but because reopening communication risks pulling them back into emotions they've already decided to move away from. Silence, in their case, becomes a boundary. There's also a tendency to personalize their departure in a way that isn't fully accurate. It's easy to assume that if they could commit to someone else or move on so completely, then you were the problem. But often it's more about the specific dynamic between you and them. Certain relationships activate deeper fears or patterns, while others feel easier to manage. That doesn't make one person more valuable than the other. It just means the emotional experience was different. At the same time, it's important to stay grounded in reality. When someone shows you through consistent actions that they've closed the door, holding on to the idea that they might return keeps you emotionally tied to a situation that no longer exists. Their behavior isn't mixed or unclear anymore, it's direct, even if it's not verbally explained. What helps most in this situation is shifting your attention from trying to decode their mindset to understanding what their actions mean for you. Instead of asking why they left the way they did, it becomes more useful to recognize what kind of relationship you actually experienced, one that included distance, inconsistency, or emotional unavailability. That clarity can help you avoid repeating the same pattern in the future. Over time, the absence of their presence becomes its own kind of answer. Not because it erases what happened, but because it shows you what is no longer being chosen. And once you accept that, you're no longer stuck in the loop of waiting. You start creating space for something that aligns with you more consistently and openly. There's also a psychological point of no return that often gets overlooked. Before reaching it, avoidants can still feel a push and pull inside themselves. Part of them wants connection, while another part resists it. But once they cross that internal line, the conflict disappears. They're no longer debating whether to stay or go. In their mind, the decision is settled, and everything that follows, blocking, moving on, cutting ties, is simply them aligning their external world with that internal conclusion. What's difficult is that this shift is usually invisible while it's happening. You might still be engaging with them, trying to fix things or understand them while they've already started detaching beneath the surface. By the time you notice the change in their behavior, they're emotionally several steps ahead. That's why their actions can feel so absolute. Because for them, it's not a reaction in the moment, it's the execution of a decision they've already made. Another layer is how avoidants handle emotional memory. Instead of holding on to the full picture of the relationship, they tend to filter it in a way that supports their need for distance. They may downplay the good moments and amplify the parts where they felt uncomfortable, restricted, or overwhelmed. This isn't always conscious. It's a protective mechanism that helps them stay firm in their choice. If they allowed themselves to fully reconnect with the positive emotional depth, it could create doubt. And doubt is exactly what they're trying to eliminate. There's also a strong link between control and closure for avoidance. Relationships require vulnerability, and vulnerability introduces unpredictability. When they feel that unpredictability has reached a level they can't manage, their solution is often to regain control by exiting completely. Total disconnection gives them a sense of stability again. It removes the emotional variables, the expectations, and the possibility of being pulled back into something that once felt overwhelming. From the outside, this can look like emotional coldness, but internally, it often feels like relief mixed with quiet finality, not excitement, not joy, just a steady sense that they've resolved something. That's another reason why they don't circle back easily. There's no unresolved tension pushing them to return. The cycle that once existed, distance followed by reconnection, depends on that tension. When it's gone, the pattern ends with it. It's also important to recognize how consistency plays a role here. Earlier in the relationship, inconsistency might have been the norm, moments of closeness followed by withdrawal, but once they've truly closed the door, their behavior becomes consistent in a different way. Consistent absence, consistent silence, consistent distance. That shift from unpredictable presence to predictable absence is one of the clearest signals that something fundamental has changed. For someone on the receiving end, the mind often tries to fill in the gaps. You might replay conversations, look for hidden meanings, or hold on to the idea that something could reignite what you had. But when someone has taken multiple deliberate steps to remove every pathway back to them, it's no longer about miscommunication or timing, it's about a clear direction they've chosen. There's also a subtle but important truth in all of this. When someone has to go to extreme lengths to disconnect, it usually means the connection affected them deeply, but not in a way they want to continue experiencing. Depth alone isn't enough to sustain a relationship. If that depth comes with discomfort, fear, or a sense of losing control, an avoidant will choose distance over intensity. At a certain point, the focus has to shift away from understanding their internal reasoning and toward accepting their external actions. Their silence, their absence, and their complete withdrawal communicate more clearly than any explanation they could give. And while that can feel harsh, it also removes ambiguity. You're no longer dealing with mixed signals. You're seeing a definitive outcome. When you begin to accept that level of finality, something changes on your side too. The energy that was going into analyzing them starts to come back to you. Instead of trying to reopen a closed door, you start recognizing that your path no longer depends on whether they return. And that shift away from waiting and toward moving forward is where real clarity begins. In the end, when an avoidant reaches the point of completely cutting ties, blocking you, removing all contact, moving on quickly, or rebuilding their life without you, it's not confusion, fear, or temporary distance anymore. It's a clear and final decision. Their actions speak with a level of consistency and closure that goes far beyond their usual push and pull behavior. The hardest part is accepting that silence, distance, and absence are answers in themselves. Not every ending comes with an explanation or a final conversation. Sometimes the way someone leaves completely and without return is the closure. Instead of holding on to the idea that they might come back, the real shift happens when you recognize what their actions are showing you. They've chosen a path that doesn't include you. And while that can be painful, it also frees you from waiting, guessing, and hoping for something that no longer exists. True closure begins the moment you stop looking back at a closed door and start moving forward with your own life. If this resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon on Distant Soul for more insights like this, and comment closure below if you're ready to move forward and leave the past behind.